And we're back yet again. After a long week, we should just cue the intro. Hello guys, this is Two Latin Brothers Podcast, also known as T.L.B.P. I'm Victor.
I'm Adrian.
We're back at it again with another not vlog, although we do have vlogs and we haven't uploaded one in a while, but we will eventually.
It's the end of the year, we're too busy. I don't got time for that.
Honestly, it's been quite busy for me.
Yeah, for you. Yeah, that's really what I was referring to. You've been so busy. We were actually thinking about doing one yesterday.
Yeah.
We were gonna go record it in the morning and then upload it literally the day of, but I was like, I don't know, I feel it's a little too tight.
Yeah. And
then it started raining, so then it was all like, so it was like, nah.
But it is my last week.
Yeah.
Of my first semester being in radio.
Right.
Yeah.
How would you say that's been?
It's been quite fun, actually.
Have you learned a lot?
I've learned quite something.
I've paid thousands of dollars to maybe likely learn something.
I've learned a few. Well, I've learned how operations kind of go in radio stations. I kind of know how the laws work, how the kind of conduct we have to maintain, quotas that need to be met as well. Yeah, how to make promotions and stuff like that.
He's learned how to make a promotion, ladies.
Yeah.
He paid thousands of dollars to learn how to make a promotion.
To learn how to make promotions, make ad libs. I haven't learned how to script write yet, but I'm getting that. I
can't wait till you start script writing because then it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling you'll be like, yo, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I don't know, man.
And I'll just do it anyways. I'll just submit that anyways.
Submit it. I'm like, I don't know. That seems a little vulgar.
Vulgar? Excuse me.
Seems a little intense.
Okay, maybe intensity's my thing, though.
Why are you shouting the whole time?
Because I felt like it.
Why are there like
just
1,000?
let me do my...
Why is there like 1,000 exclamation marks on this page?
Yeah. All the time. Constantly. Forever. It's always yelling, always in a firm tone, always going to be like this. You're welcome.
I don't know how I feel about that.
You're welcome.
No, but honestly, though, it's interesting because there's a lot of stuff you've learned, especially when it comes to audio.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's radio, so like
yeah.
obviously. But it's interesting. Like you'll be talking about stuff. Like today I learned how to. I'm like, it's cool. And then like the other day,
I mean, I rarely do that. I don't think I've actually really done that.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been like,
but like to me, what's interesting is that like you're talking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I learned that through a YouTube video.
Yeah, I mean,
to be fair, but it's
majority of the stuff I'm just bringing up to you.
Yeah,
it's not like it's something absolutely new to me because I've watched YouTube videos on how to do that stuff prior to actually learning it. Right,
but what I'm getting at is like it's interesting because like you've had like an actual professor talk about it.
Yeah.
And I just had some random guy on YouTube talk about it, right? Like,
yeah.
So it's like, and I was making that parallel, like school versus not school.
Yeah.
And it's literally like the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's also funny because I think that
it's pretty much because what you've learned has been scattered information, and you've had to condense it into your own knowledge. For me, it's already condensed, and then it's just presented.
Right, but I mean, like sometimes
like, this is what you actually need.
Well, like the thing too is just like sometimes like I'll be doing something. I'm like, how do I? Like I won't remember how to do something, but I know how to make the query into YouTube to get the exact video that I've already seen that will tell me what I want to watch, right? Yeah. So it's like that power is like that's a gift.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Being able to find what I'm looking for when I need it. So that's always been super helpful.
Yeah.
So you're finishing school, you've been busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think you'll rest for the next?
Honestly, I made a joke earlier to my brother and my sister earlier. Well, Adrian and my sister.
They're like, he has another brother.
Our sister.
Your sister.
Your sister.
Our sister.
Our sister.
Right.
His sister.
Your sister.
My sister. His sister.
Our sister.
We have one.
Everyone's like,
just to clarify.
Everyone's like, how many sisters are there?
Yeah, I made a joke earlier how don't be surprised if on Monday you don't see me conscious till like 4 p.m.
Nah, man, we're gonna be recording at like noon. What are you talking about?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Actually, we're gonna record that on I think
on a Saturday.
Yeah, we're gonna record that on Saturday. Actually, I think that's the plan right now.
On a Saturday.
Because we have like a bunch of like little ideas planned because of the holidays and stuff. So we're just trying to schedule them in a way where it's not overwhelming.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because there's obviously like a lot of stuff, and I can't keep track of everything, especially because around this time of year and just trying to. There's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
And
sure.
you know, so and you know, sometimes things don't fall through, so it's just trying to like maneuver. Also with weather now, we have to like be aware. Like tomorrow, it's supposed. Actually, the day you're listening to this, there's supposed to be like a huge snowstorm. So we have to be kind of conscious,
aware.
Aware, yeah. Aware of the weather, because if like we're gonna go vlogging, we're gonna be outside, or if we're gonna we're gonna be inside, where are we gonna be, what's gonna be happening.
I actually literally just my brain just I don't know what I was gonna say there. Whoa.
Well, all right,
that was scary.
Right. So and then we got the new year, and your schedule changes again. And and my schedule is kind of like a mess.
Yeah,
just kind of everywhere, so it's just doing this is a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
Scheduling is we need to hire someone to schedule.
Honestly, yes. that is a real thing. And with our constant changes, it means, everything changes. Because as soon as I get my schedule...
I can't wait till May 1st.
Yeah.
Because, like, on May 1st, all your schedules, like, basically, like your slate's, like, almost wiped.
Yeah.
So then I can just throw everything on you.
Not necessarily.
I can just throw like half of it on you.
Not necessarily because I'll be working.
Nah, dang it.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm gonna throw like half of it on you. Just like do that.
Yeah.
But it's obviously interesting to see, especially you like learning things, and like you get all excited. You come home, you talk about it.
Yeah.
Like that's like when someone's enjoying what they're learning, and because there are people who like they go to school and you go, so how's it going? And they go, it's going good, but like they look dead inside, so it's not exactly like
they're like, oh, it's going good. I'm 15 assignments behind. I think my professor's talking to us in Mandarin. I'm pretty sure that guy over there just dropped out.
And then they're like,
I haven't seen that guy since day one.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I was telling you about that one kid who like no one knew him, and we had a professor asking for him. If anybody
pretty sure
had
you
seen
said the story on the podcast.
Yeah, we had a professor asking for this one kid, and we never saw him. We never heard of him.
Yeah.
And he was like in like all our classes, so we were just like, oh, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like just disappeared. But there are those guys who like they show up the first day.
Yeah.
And then you just never see him again.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure if I've actually said this on the podcast before, but our professor day one basically went on to explain how students use like government loans and grants.
Yeah.
They just apply to like the college.
Right.
And then never show up to classes and then just keep the money.
Right.
And then just keep applying every year so they never have to pay it back.
Yeah.
And that apparently one time there was someone who even signed up to live on residence.
Right.
So they weren't living on residence. They lived in the area, but they also had the meal plan. So they'd just go into the college, grab all their food, and then just leave.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. But now what they do is like they'll check if you fail an entire semester.
Oh yeah.
They put you on probation.
Oh yeah.
With like the government loan.
Yeah.
And they tell you if it happens next semester, you're officially cut off.
Oh yeah.
So like it's not like how it used to be.
Yeah.
Where you could do that because I remember
people still do it though.
I of course, yeah, but like the thing is like you can only do it for like a year and then you're essentially cut off. Yeah. And then if you reapply again, they tell you, oh well, you were already cut off, like no more. Mm-hmm. And then what ends up happening is that you basically are forced into going to find a job because in 6 months, you're forced to pay it back.
Oh, yeah.
So you fall into like this thing, and a lot of people, what ends up happening is that they'll be like, oh, I wasn't able to find a job or whatever. And you know what the government does?
What?
They're like, we already forwarded your email to like an employment service.
Yeah.
They can help you. So it's like, and we expect you to be there. So get going.
Yeah.
So it's not how it used to be. Because I remember I had a friend who he told me how because he was a couple of years older than me when I started college, and he was telling me how there was a guy he knew who did that for like 4 years straight. Just kept applying. Mm-hmm. And he was like, and he started his like, I think he started like a bricklaying business with the OSAP money. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, this guy literally took all that money and then started his own business.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's kind of smart, but at the same time, like, you're kind of like playing with fire because it's like I could get busted and then they can like fine me for all of that, right? So it's like,
they fine you for that?
For lying to the government, yeah, they could there's probably something.
What do you mean, like, because he took the money?
Yeah.
Right. His tuition was clearly still paid because you were talking to him.
No. It was a friend of his, not him.
Oh, okay.
Like he was, it wasn't even a friend of his. He's like some guy who, when he was in university, he's like there was a guy who was doing that.
Oh, I see.
He's like he did it for like 3-4 years.
Wow.
Where he's like, I need more money, keep the business going. And he's like, I remember this one time he literally got the OSAT money.
Yeah.
And the next day went and bought like a truck so he could carry all of it, so he could transport the bricks. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, that's material transport. That's like a real living on the edge. It's like, that's great. I could never. I mean,
but if his business was clearly ramping up, he was making enough money to pay it back and still not be held accountable.
But that was before they put all these rules in, right?
Yeah, that's basically fraud, though.
Yeah. So eventually, I don't know. Apparently, like the businesses worked out because eventually he stopped. Yeah. Because the business just took off. Yeah. So like, I'm sure he like I'm sure like eventually like they found out and he had to pay like some crazy fine.
Oh yeah.
But like he was able to get his business off the ground. So
yeah, that's amazing. Actually.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, right? Because and also like for university, like the money amounts that you get is like 4 times what a college student gets. So it's like it's real money. Like
yeah, for sure.
Like absurd amounts of money. So it was just interesting for me to hear something like that. And then this one guy was saying how one of his friends started some sort of security app thing in his room, and he had the server running in his college dorm.
Oh wow!
And he was saying how he was gonna drop out. But then he's like, but his parents were like, no, stay in school. And he's like, I was already earning
enough to
almost
live.
6 figures. He's like, in my dorm room. It's like, my parents like, no, finish university. Yeah, because he was taking like computer science or something like that. And I'm like, to my friend, so what did he do? He's like, he finished his first year and then I just never saw him again. Well, and then my friend went all the way to second year and then dropped out.
If I was making 6 figures. Yeah. You bet I'm not finishing school.
Yeah, well, because like,
I've literally just proven that I can myself without an education can financially make myself stable.
Right. Well, like, the thing is like the software he created. Yeah. It's like used in like it's like security software. So like you can sell to like any building. Like you got cameras. Like here's the software. Yeah. Right. So like that's like and some places, especially here. Apparently, like they were like one of the things that made him pop off was the fact that a lot of the like security buildings here had like the most outdated like software. So like he's like, no, we gotta upgrade you, and here's the new software. Wow. Like so, it's like a lot of stuff like that where he would just apparently he was just like cold like shooting, just walk into any building downtown and be like, hey, I work for the security. Apparently, like back in he's like this guy's business cards was literally a blank sheet of paper and all the stuff was written on like a pen. Like, because he wasn't even paying for he couldn't afford to print out paper, and he's like, dude, like it doesn't even cost that much. He's like, I can't. He's like, I could barely even afford to live in his dorm where he had the server running. So it's like, it was just like it was. I think stuff like that is just so inspiring because it's like, wow, he really fought for it, and I think, what is it? I love when you like watch like Shark Tank or something. Oh yeah. And they're like, I know, and there's always that one guy who walks in and is like, well, with your help, you could get me in this place. Like, what are you talking about? Just pick up the phone and call him. Yeah. Like, you don't need me to do that. Yeah. He's like, and if they don't hear you out, try again. Yeah. Try as many times as it takes. He's like,
trial and error.
And he was saying how there was he's like, there was this one time. Well, I think it was Kevin O'Leary who was saying there was this one time he was like, I was in an elevator. And we stopped, he's like, it was like 20 floors. Yeah. We stopped on the 4th floor, and this kid came in. Yeah. He was like the mail boy. Yeah. And he pitched me this idea. Yeah. And he's like, and when I got to the 20th floor, I was like, he's the elevator pitch, right? So he's like, give me your business card. And the kid goes, I don't have one. And he goes, get a business card, and maybe next time we'll talk about it. He's like, I walked out of the elevator. Yeah. He's like, if you're going to approach someone and you don't have a business card. Yeah. He's like, 95% of deals don't happen. He's like, because I can't contact you. Like, how am I supposed to contact you?
There's no contact. How do we make this work?
Yeah. He's like, if I can't reach you, this isn't going to work, right? He's like, it could be a great idea. Oh, yeah. He's like, but if I can't contact you, sucks.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So there's obviously, you know, so I mean, this guy was smart. He was like on at least on like a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
He was like little cutout sheets of paper.
Yeah,
so it's like it goes. And I don't know. Back when I was 18, to me these stories seemed almost like fantasy. Like, there's no way this is real. There's no way people actually do these things, right? But then like as you get older, you realize that this is about like I had a guy who started. A friend of mine, he started clothing brand.
Yeah.
In China.
Yeah.
Like while we were in college. I was like, oh, okay. This is like, I guess this is what's happening, right? So it's like, I don't even know if he's still doing it because I haven't really talked to him in a while. But it was, to me, that was one of those things where I was like, you're starting a clothing brand? He's like, yeah, I've been talking to like designers. I'm like, you're talking to designers? I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Right? So it's obviously. Dude, I was just trying to pass math class. This guy started designers.
And the guy was just like, yeah, I'm talking to designers for this new piece that we're creating.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to pass math class. Like, this is way above me. It's like just all going over my head. Because you fall into that thing where like you're just so hyper focused on one thing. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure you have those people who are like that in class.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit. Not everyone,
obviously, but
not everyone.
But there's like a few of those that are like just like only this all the time.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
those are the people who they're dangerous.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not in the sense that like that they're like physically dangerous. They're just like dangerous to themselves because they have a super like addictive, obsessive personalities.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't really say that we have those then.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, there could be in other ways.
Maybe.
Like there could be that one guy who's like just addicted to gaming. Like, that's all he does.
Okay, yeah. If we're getting into addictions, many.
He's like, there's like the list is long, but distinguished.
It's a college. Relax.
No, what was it's like? It's a college.
Like, do I need I say more?
I don't think you need to.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of a dumb approach.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they do teach an addictions course there, so it's like
it's just really further proving my point.
I mean, you know what it's like being an addictions course when everybody in the room's got an addiction.
Oh yeah, everyone has addiction.
It's crazy.
There's not a single person in this world who doesn't have a single addiction.
It's crazy.
There are people who are addicted to working, workaholics.
Yeah.
Alcoholics.
Obviously.
Like any drug, even coffee.
Like, no, I remember we were having this conversation with someone, and our prof was like, she was talking about like TV addiction and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like movies and stuff. And this one girl literally, like, she in the middle of the class, she's like, she like gasp, and we go, what? She goes, I have a TV addiction. And we all go, what do you mean? She's like, yeah. She's like, when I study, she's like, I'll even have shows in the background as white noise.
Yeah.
She's like, because I need to know it. Like, I need. She's like, I have to have something that I can just look at.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then our teacher goes, yeah, you're definitely addicted to the TV.
Yeah.
See, but like, it was interesting because like, you kind of become aware.
Yeah.
Like it's like a moment of self-reflection because like they're talking about and they're describing it. It's like, why does it sound like she's talking about me?
That is, my friends, why the DSM-5 is scary.
Well, this is like, we weren't even looking at the DSM-5. It's just like a topic that came up.
For those who don't know, the DSM-5 is just a book that like basically breaks down
every mental ailment.
Yeah.
But it's the way it's been done is not exactly the best because anybody can read it. And like if they're reading it, like if they're analyzing themselves. You have like 12 of them.
Yeah. Or more.
It's really bad.
Pretty thick book.
Yeah, it's I mean, I don't really like it. I think the old way was better, but like the new way is I kind of.
I mean, okay, cool, but we're just finding more way to categorize people.
Aren't we supposed to unify people?
No, see, because the whole concept, right?
Yeah.
Is we create categories so that we can help them better.
Yeah.
But as soon as you create a category,
yeah,
it makes them self-aware that they even have a problem.
Right.
When they didn't even know that they had a problem.
Right.
So in reality, you're not helping them. You're just
making more problems.
You're just making more problems because now they're aware of the fact that there's problems.
Right.
They would have just continued living their life.
Right.
If you never told a person about depression,
right,
the likelihood of them actually thinking like with the depressed mindset,
yeah,
it's just
skyrockets. Yeah,
it's just gone.
Yeah. Well, because like I think about that all the time, right? Because I especially like think about like older generations.
Mm-hmm.
They don't suffer of like these sorts of like ailments that like young people do nowadays.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the time to think about it.
Yeah.
And their elderly age, you know, you hear like, oh, you know, they're super depressed, they have anxious, like all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's because they didn't have time to dwell on it because they were just
like feel emotions when you're old.
Yeah, they're just too busy, like
and
trying to survive.
And even then, that can sound a little bit rude.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean it that way. Just
right.
saying.
No, of course, but I mean, you often hear about it, right?
Yeah.
And then when you, as a teenager, I feel nowadays in society, we have a lot of time to just sit and think.
Oh yeah.
And so, who would have thought that would be dangerous?
Yeah, because long ago we were worrying about survival.
Right.
Right. Like, okay, we got the next crop. I don't
even want to think about the next crop.
Yeah, that was the issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Are we gonna have enough money for ends meet? Oh no, there was something that happened with the weather, and now we have to fix that. So there's no time to sit down. There's
right, like and that's why they say like third world countries.
Yeah.
They don't have, when they ask for like those types of analytics.
Yeah.
They don't have any because even the people who live there don't have time to be doing these sorts of analytics.
Why even have the analytics if there's no time for it?
Right. Yeah,
now again, there's not to say that there isn't people who are truly affected by mental health and illness, but we're just stating.
Most people don't. Some people enter fight or flight like eternally.
Yes.
Like they're always in that mode.
We're just stating a fact.
Yeah.
And reasoning.
Right.
And with opinionated reasoning.
Obviously.
That there are concepts that didn't need to exist.
Right.
There you go.
Congrats. I like how you went around that like that.
Yeah.
It's challenging to navigate. But I think, you're right. And obviously I think it's interesting. I just think it's interesting over the fact that sitting and just thinking is now harmful to ourselves.
Oh yeah.
Like now
because now our issues, I don't want to say that they're not problems.
Right.
Because they are.
Obviously.
To each individual, the issues you have are your problems, right?
Right, yeah.
But
I mean, like
a lot of the times they don't.
But depending on the issue, like some of them are like kind of like, not to be mean, but some of them are mediocre.
Oh yeah.
And some of them are like, oh, that's like you should actually see somebody about that, right? Like
I feel like there's a proper way of segueing into the verity of the issue. Right?
Yeah.
Because there's people who and we have developed a term for it, snowflakes.
Okay, sure.
For the smallest of things.
Yeah.
They'll be like, this is one of the reasons why I'm depressed, and I'm like, what do you mean?
Right. So
define depression. What just happened now is happenstance. You're sad.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I feel like a lot of times we use words like out of context.
Oh yeah.
And obviously I do it here all the time, like to crack a joke. But you often find
I feel like we've accepted the terminology anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
We have normalized those terms so much.
Yeah.
And we use them so much that by saying these things, we convince ourselves that we do.
Right. So,
okay.
So real quick,
yeah.
What was I gonna say? I had a friend when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You always see her smiling. Like I never seen her sad.
Yeah.
And then one day she came to, I didn't see her smiling. I'm like, hey, you okay? And she goes, oh yeah, like a grandparent had passed away. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
You comfort her. We move on, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then there was this other girl. I never saw her smile.
Yeah.
Like our entire high school time. I mean, not the entire year that she was there.
Yeah.
I never saw her smile. And then one day I was talking with her, and I got her to laugh.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like thrown off by it.
Yeah.
Because she was like that person that everybody knew.
Yeah.
Just like radiated depression.
Yeah.
Right? Just always super depressed, right?
Yeah.
And then we had a conversation about like, hey, I've never seen you smile.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the first time I've seen you smile.
Yeah.
And she was like, really? She's like, I smile all the time. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never seen you smile. Like that was the first moment. Like that was the first time.
Her muscles don't move properly.
Yeah. It was just no. And then she was telling me how she's like, I just don't feel the need to walk around smiling all the time.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, so that's just like that's like your personality.
Yeah.
Like that's just how you are as an individual. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And everybody had like marked her as like that super depressed person, right?
Yeah.
But she truly wasn't, right? She was like genuinely a happy person.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like it's also like the way we perceive people, right?
Yeah.
That plays a big factor.
Because you can never truly tell who is depressed.
Right.
That's the hardest problem.
Right. Because all the mental ailments are kind of like in the head.
Yeah.
So like from a distance, you kind of like just you're kind of just judging from what you see.
You can be friends with someone for years and never know that they're depressed.
Right.
Because just because they're depressed doesn't mean that they're not going to smile.
Right. It also doesn't mean they're going to be willing to talk about it, right?
Because depression is basically your body just telling you, I hate you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm not going to laugh to your joke.
Right, of course, right.
Yeah.
So like it's very like subjective also, like 'cause everybody goes through it differently.
Yeah.
Like not every single person goes through it the same. So it's not like a one sort of thing fits all. Oh, and that's when the DSM-5 came, because it was like, well, everybody goes through it differently, so we got to find like all the other categories, like all the little categories that like qualify in it, right? So it's
how
like
to properly diagnose it,
exactly,
so we can fix it at its roots.
Right. So
which is a good thing.
Yeah, but then everybody has like an underlining base level of depression.
Yeah.
Because like we all go through like days where we wake up like I don't want to do anything, you know. Yeah. We all have those, but it's like
every day.
Every day. No, it's not every day. It's like every like once a week.
I just want to sleep.
It's because you're tired. That's not depression. But it's one of those things, right? But I think the more we learn about ourselves, like we'll be better for it.
See, like I feel
we'll be right back after this short commercial break. Hey guys, sorry I'm interrupting this video. I'm here to tell you to follow both our Instagrams and the podcast Instagram. Bro, what do you think about that?
Yeah, man, I approve this message. And we're back.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I mean
that was the most shoved in intermission we've ever done.
Oh yeah, honestly, the topic was really really heated. And honestly,
I turned and looked at the time like, oh man, we went over.
Yeah, it's just a really interesting concept to discuss.
For sure.
But at the same time, like, trying to be careful with it, because there are people that do suffer of these ailments properly.
And obviously it's not to be taken lightly.
Oh yeah.
Right, because like obviously this is like
if you're feeling like you're having your own issues, please go talk to someone professional. I cannot stress this enough. Go talk to your best friend. Just do it.
Yeah, you'll be better for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, and even if you don't tell them, just talk to them. Just have like a genuine conversation with them about anything. And even that helps.
Oh yeah.
Like having someone just listen to you ramble about whatever feels good.
Therapy friend. We've discussed this before. Get yourself a therapy friend.
If you don't have one of those, I don't know, shoot me a DM. I don't know. Maybe I'm available.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting for me to realize, like to look at the perspectives, because obviously I had a friend who, like I think I've said this on the podcast, where she was like depressed and super, like she suffered of like crazy anxiety, and her problem was that she couldn't be home all the time because she'd get like super depressed, and she couldn't be outside all the time because she gets super anxious. She's like, she'd be like, Adrian, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what do you mean? She's like, if I go outside, I just get anxious, and if I stay inside, I get depressed.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, so I'm like, so don't you take medication? Just get to some work. And then I'm like,
so
because they counter each other, right? So it's like it's challenging to navigate that when you have those sorts of, and obviously I remember one time. A friend of mine, she had a like a full on panic attack.
Yeah.
Because of her anxiety, and I was like, what like I was trying to like navigate, like just trying to help her, right? Because she started like hyperventilating and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously there are there are instances where you see like people really going through it and living through it, right?
Yeah.
And you see the challenges that play out and all that stuff, right? So obviously when we refer to snowflake, we obviously mean that section or that population of people who have miscategorized what they're feeling.
Oh yes.
And then the people who are actually like going through it, right? So it's important to separate them because they're not the same thing.
Here on the podcast, because obviously we're a comedy podcast that takes things way too seriously sometimes.
I don't know what's going on 95% of the time. Honestly, I don't know how we got here.
When we use the term snowflake, it's precisely that what we're referring to.
Right.
Don't go around calling people snowflakes to their faces, because you never truly know what's going on in the background.
Right, and we use the term very generalized for the people who have miscategorized what it is, right? So I think it's important to say that, obviously, because not to get misconstrued, but it's new terminology that's been invented, obviously, by yours, not you truly, but I was gonna say yours truly, but I was gonna say your generation. Yeah. They kind of coined the term, but I think it has played kind of like a part in the way the youth talk to each other now, and like in a damaging way. And it hasn't had a good result because of that, right? So I think obviously, you know, it's more of like an education versus like use case scenario, right? So it's like, it's one of those things where like, y'all need to be educated on this because none of you know. Like, you're a bunch of teenagers and none of you understand what you're even saying.
And
so
I feel that's also something that should be taught properly.
Right.
I find at an earlier age, it should be taught, like, I feel like some of these concepts should be discussed in middle school.
Like 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, 12, 13 years old, because so that way you grasp and understand this by the time you're in high school.
Right, yeah.
When things actually start getting difficult for you.
Right, and a lot of people, I think I've said this on the podcast before, but I'm not sure if I said it. Mm-hmm. I remember when I watched 13 Reasons Why, the first season. After I saw the first season of 13 Reasons Why, I kind of stopped watching it, but but what I was getting at is I felt like a horrible human.
Oh yeah.
And not because of what I witnessed, but because of how it made me self-reflect.
Yeah.
Because like it makes you realize that everything you say to someone, depending on how you say it, could be damaging. Yeah. Like there are times where, like, you mean it as a joke, but you don't know if they like if they don't understand sarcasm, then like
or your sarcasm didn't come through properly.
Right. So like all of a sudden I was sitting there like I think it was like in my second year of college. Yeah. I'm like sitting there, and like
I make it
I'm
so
like,
apparent.
No, I was like, no, I know, but like in my case, I was like I was a horrible human in high school. Like, I was that guy who just didn't care about anybody's feelings. Clearly, like, I mean, unless of course you're like my friend, of course, y'all know what I'm talking about. But like, if you were like some like random, like not random, like you were that guy who sat next to me in like biology that I was only in for like 2 weeks, like that guy got the like blunt end of it because he didn't understand, right? So like I think about those sorts of things, and I was like, man, I'm like, I wasn't like the best person.
Yeah, and see, sometimes you joke about something, and the person clicks. Maybe there's some truth to that,
right?
Because it's not the first time I've heard it,
right?
And that's also another problem,
right? So it's like, oh man, like so I remember I told this girl once, what did I say? I'm like, oh, you're so innocent, and I said it like sarcastically, and then her friend walks over and goes, oh, Adrian, you have no idea. Like, but she said it in a way, like she said it up front, like she wasn't. I was like making a joke, but she wasn't. She was being like dead serious.
Yeah.
And I was like, and we're like in the okay, so like we're in the library. You know where the computers are, or where they used to be by the window.
Okay.
And there's like these round tables.
Yeah.
Okay, I was sitting there with this girl, right, and her friend was like sitting across from us, and so I'm talking like, oh, you know, you're so innocent sometimes, because like, I don't know, someone made it like a joke.
Yeah.
An innuendo joke, and she didn't laugh, and I go, oh, you're so innocent, and her friend goes, oh, Adrian, you have no idea. Mm-hmm. And her face like turned so red.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I kind of like, I'm like,
you made this. Why'd you make this so serious?
Yeah, I was like, but it was like one of those like harmless things.
Yeah.
And it was because like she was the quiet girl, the innocent girl.
Yeah.
Like the girl who like
the quiet girl, the innocent girl, and clearly not.
Oh no, but that's how she portrayed herself, right? Yeah. So like I never thought I was just got straight A's, good student.
Yeah.
According to me, right?
Yeah.
And then later on, I found like I can't remember what happened, but like. I think I like friended her on like Facebook.
Yeah,
that was the thing back.
I think saw the real her.
Yeah, no, yeah. Oh my, partying every weekend, like drinking, like just like
there's
total mayhem. Like, and I was like, yo, in school, you are like the nicest human.
And I've met people who are backwards like that.
Yeah,
I've met people who are a completely different person from when they're at home.
Yeah,
than from when they're at school.
Oh yeah,
I knew someone who absolutely not the greatest student you'd want to be friends with. He was like party animal. Did a lot of substance abuse.
Yeah, obviously.
His grades though.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
To his family.
Yeah.
He was a good kid.
Yeah.
But at school, this man was not the greatest example.
Yeah. No, I remember there was a guy like that. I remember I met this guy.
Yeah.
When I was in grade 10.
Not to say like he was two-faced. Like man,
kind of what
the way he would act around others.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, there was this girl. Actually, our mom, she was like shocked.
Yeah.
Because this one time she went to pick me up from the high school, there was this girl. She was like, I saw her show up to the school.
Yeah.
She's like, she was Muslim, so she had the hijab and all that.
Yeah.
I'm not exposing you because I'm not gonna say her name.
Yeah.
She walked into the school. She'd walk into the washroom.
Yeah.
She'd take everything off.
Yeah.
And walk out of the washroom. The whole day in school, like no hijab, no none of that. And she'd like change her shirt and like super revealing stuff, like super tight clothes, like everything like she's not supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
End of the day, walk in the washroom, change, walk out of the school. And the only reason our mom figured this out was because she saw her putting it on in like the staircase through the window. Because like there's like a staircase and there was a window. And while she was waiting, she was like she was putting it on. Yeah. And I was like 3 guys walked out through that door. Yeah. And she's putting it on. Yeah. And she's like, my mom's like, I almost got out there and yelled at the 3 guys. Because like they're like, what are you guys doing? Like you see her doing that. You don't like do that, right? And then she's like, so she's done fixing it. Mm-hmm. And then her mom comes to pick her up. She's like, same story, And she gets into the car.
All of a sudden, she's halal again.
Yeah. He walks into the car and just they drive away. I'm like, Mom, you have no idea how many people probably do that. Oh yeah. Like you have no idea. Oh, and I remember this one time, I ran into this girl when I was in elementary school. No, I had finished elementary school, but we went to elementary school again. Yeah. But like I ran into her, like after practice or something, and she had just had like a volleyball practice. Yeah. So like it's obviously it's a girls team and they're all and like everyone in their so she wasn't wearing her hijab. Yeah. And I was in the school like I can't remember what I was
after
helping.
Hours.
Yeah, and I was helping with something and then the teacher's like, "Hey Adrian, can you come help take down the net?" And I walk into the gym like I didn't know. Yeah, right? Yeah. I walk into the gym and she turns around and I see her, and I instantly turn around. She goes, "Oh, like what's wrong?" I'm like, I.
How do I say this without telling her I saw her?
Right. So I'm like, and then like she screams because she realizes. Yeah. And then the teacher has like that whole moment too, where like, oh, I'm the one who messed up. Like it's on the teacher now, right? And then she's like, Adrian, can you just go like wait outside for a bit? I'm like, yeah, no worries. Yeah. And so, but it's one of those things where like out of respect to her, right? Yeah. And like obviously the whole faith thing, right? Like, and those sorts of like those instances are kind of funny. Yeah. But like at the same time, it's
like the severity, the seriousness.
For her, like the severity of it, right? Because like like I just
like it was clearly an accident, and you respected the fact that as soon as you noticed, you turned around.
Right. Yeah. So it's one of those things, right? And then I remember afterwards, I'd always joke how like she had really nice hair. Yeah. And that was like the running joke, and everyone's like, "You got to see her hair?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, you should have been there." And she's like, "No."
See.
But it was like
that there. Yeah, that was kind of wrong of you.
No, but it was like it was one of those like it became like one of those like inside jokes between me and her. And then I remember this one time, I can't remember what happened. She made a joke about it, how like I was the only guy allowed to see her hair. Yeah. And then I'm like, whoa, this is a plot twist here. Whoa, rewind. Okay. That's not what happened. Yeah. And then this other girl would show up. She's like, that's definitely not what happened. I was there. Yeah. That's not what happened. He's like, he was like waiting to see me. I'm like, whoa, that's not what happened. So it just became this thing where we started teasing each other with it, but it was all like friendly fun. Yeah. I remember when I switched high schools, her brother, he saw me. Yeah. And I ran into him like outside of school. Yeah. And he's like, you went to school with my sister, right? I'm like, yeah. This is right? I'm like, God knows what he's heard about me. Yeah. Right. So it's like it's always like one of those things where like you gotta know when to navigate and when not to. But he was like cool about it. He was like, hey, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna just tell your sister I say hi. He's like, yeah, for sure. He's like, I got you, bro. And I was like,
great, thanks.
I'm out. And then I'm like, I can't imagine the conversation you're gonna have later. I wish I could be there. Yeah. She's gonna be like, oh, that's the guy who saw me, and she's gonna be like, saw you what?
I should have pulverized that guy.
Should have knocked his teeth in. But yeah, no, it's just I think those types of, right, and those are the sorts of scenarios where like just like anything can happen, sort of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's tough living in a multicultural country.
Oh yeah, because there's so many. Especially when you hang out with, especially when there's like school events, multicultural events, right?
Oh yeah,
and there's things far out there from your norm, right? Right. And some things that you might think are a little silly, so there's also like you can't disrespect by laughing, right? And there's some things that you're like you just make you feel uncomfortable,
right?
But at the same time, you can't
right, like in that instance, like. Yeah. I think the reaction I had said more to me about like the teacher's reaction.
Oh yeah.
Because the teacher like tried to play it off.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like you don't understand. Like, I just broke. Like, I just made it like sin. Like, we gotta wipe this from the record here. Like,
yeah.
Right. So it was one of those things where it's obviously, and to people who don't understand like the religion, to them it's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right. So and obviously like to some degree like, I feel where those people are coming from, but I also feel where she's coming from, right?
Yeah.
Because like that's like her whole faith system, right? So it's like you have to navigate both.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act for sure.
It's a balance. And I see that's one of the things Canada has truly, well, specifically in Ontario, because I don't know about the other provinces.
It's like only here. Everybody else. I mean, actually, Quebec isn't so much for that.
For other provinces, but I know here.
Yeah.
That we've done a really good job of accepting all the other cultures without giving them any backlash.
Well, as much
backlash, yeah.
Right, because like it depends. It depends who it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, but I think growing up in this society, it's like, especially for us, we grew up in this society, right? And it's like a multicultural society, right?
Yeah.
So like we know like when you can't shake someone's hand.
Yeah.
Like, and like when you need to bow or when you need to,
Yeah.
like if it's a hug, if it's a kiss, if it's, like
everything else.
every culture has its own way of saying hello and goodbye.
Yeah.
And it is like, and you respect all of it. So you learn
I've had instances where there's like a new transfer student. And they're like, hi. They're like fresh off the plane too. And they're like, hi, this, that. And then the whole shebang. And like this side kisses. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I've had the instance where like they'll bow and I'll be like, that's cool. I'm gonna do that from now on when I talk to them, right? So it's like, and it's like one of those things where I had a friend who he was like, dude, you're the only one who went out of my way to like make me feel like I'm at home. And then I'm like, why? It's like you do the whole thing and you do it right. And I'm like, well, like if I can like make you feel comfortable, like it takes like zero effort.
Yeah, like
it's literally zero effort, right? Like, and especially like with Latin people, it's always the hug.
Yep, always the hug.
Always the hug, right? So.
The hug never fails.
What?
The hug never fails.
Yeah, so it's always the hug, right? So you see someone you hug, and this is like the side hug. It's not like even like a proper hug.
Yeah.
And then like, but if
depending how close you are with those people.
Right. It's
because it also depends on how much time it's been since you've seen that person.
Right.
So like, let's say you just saw them last week.
Yeah.
Side hug.
Yeah.
But if it's someone, if it's someone close.
Yeah.
Like, or you have a good connection with them, full hug.
Yeah.
Right. So like
the levels to the hug.
There's levels to the hug,
right? So
and some Latin cultures do one kiss on the cheek,
right?
So like,
well, the female will do it, right?
Yeah, so the female will do it, but the men don't do it,
right? So like, and obviously,
especially now that she's married,
yeah, obviously,
don't do that mistake. Black eyes have happened.
No, but it's like it's obviously like very challenging to just be like, you have to be like hyper aware of all of it.
Yeah,
and I think it's kind of funny because depending on where they are in Latin America, sometimes like one, sometimes it's two, and sometimes it's three. And you're like, who's doing three? Like, do you know how many like all the time like we're wasting doing this?
And these are all things that we were never told.
Yeah,
we just know.
We just kind of figured it out.
Just kind of figure it out because that if you're like, let's say you're gonna go say hi to your friend's mother, right? It's gonna be a side hug.
Right.
It's not going to be a full hug.
Right.
Not unless she's treated you like her own son. You're going to hug her fully.
Right. Like,
even then,
we have that. We have that. Right. Like, one of our mom's friends. She like we grew up with her children. We all know each other. Right. Like, and she's like our adopted aunt. Right.
In a sense, yes.
And so like, whenever she says bye to me, sometimes she like give me the hand. Yeah. I'm like, what's that? Give me a hug. Yeah. Right. Like, it's like, what do you? Did you see Moby? Like,
what sometimes it's backwards.
Yeah.
You're like, because of the circumstance prior.
Yeah.
Because you think back to like what happened last time. So then they're being considerate.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, I'll give him a hug this time.
Yeah.
And then you go for the hand because you're being considerate.
Yeah.
So you're like, and we're here again. Next week, let's repeat this, but reversed.
Right. So it's obviously it's challenging to navigate. And I think, and it's also interesting because like I'll hug, like especially when like there's a group of people.
Yeah.
And I'll come home like or whatever, you know. So, and like all our mom's friends are here. I'll hug one. Yeah. And then. No, I'll shake hands and then like I'll hug the people I will hug.
Yeah.
And then they're giving me like dirty looks. Like, why didn't I get a hug? Like, what is that? Like,
and then that's how you basically know that our mothers ranked them.
Yeah.
And that you've basically also ranked them and how close.
Yeah.
They are.
Well, like it's how comfortable.
But even then, if you're someone who knows us and is listening to this, we don't mean anything by it. It's just how societies works.
It's just the level of comfort I have.
It's just how comfy I feel. Like, do you give nice hugs? I don't know.
It's not
also, if you're someone from my school and you're listening to this doesn't mean come hug me. I cannot stress this enough. If you gotta explain that. Who I go to school with, this is not an invitation. Should be like, Victor's the hugging kind.
Should be an invitation.
No. This is not an invitation. If you ask politely for a hug, I go through a whole filing process. How long have I known you for? How long have I been talking to you with? And how good of friends are we?
That's intense.
Then I'll make my decision. I guess I can say goodbye with a hug.
I mean,
and then sometimes just to bother people after they've asked me to have a hug, I'll hug someone else entirely, just to mess with them.
Actually, when I was in high school, I had someone because I didn't really hand out hugs.
Yeah, same.
And I had this one girl. She was like, "Who hurt you?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Were you like abused or something?" I'm like, "Whoa." I was like, she just like straight up asked. I'm like, okay, whoa, rewind. For stars, no. Secondly, don't ever ask that to anyone ever like that.
Whoa.
And she goes, what? I'm like, yeah, never ask that to anyone ever. And she goes, why? I'm like, 'cause that's like, if there was
something, you just triggered them.
Yeah, I'm like,
you triggered them hard.
That's like trauma.
Yeah.
Like instant trauma. We were like in grade 12 too.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what are you doing? Like, what is? And then I'm like, no, I just
have you no sense of morality.
I'm like you're grade 12 too. Like you're 17. Yeah. Like you don't care. And most people don't know, right? So it's one of those things. But I just remember like stopping her, and she was like, I did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, no, you definitely did something wrong.
And that's also another thing, right? If someone's never been told a behavioral, like, characteristic isn't polite.
Well, like, no, I think there's also the level of people who have never been around someone who's gone through something like that.
Yeah.
So they don't know how to navigate.
There's no exposure to it, right?
So so they don't know how to navigate certain things.
Yeah.
Like, like there are people who are just like it's not to say they're socially awkward, but they're kind of socially awkward.
Yeah.
And it's because they were never put into certain situations, so they don't know how to navigate it.
The same goes with manners.
Yeah.
Right? Like sophisticated manners, like, and also just being a gentleman. That's also another thing, right?
I mean, it was a girl, so I was like,
yeah. There's just a few things that you're never truly taught or are being lost with time.
Right, yeah. And I mean,
like, for example,
but let me go back to that. So like I was explaining, like I only hug my friends.
Yeah.
And she goes, I'm not a friend.
Oh, shoot.
She's asking for a hug, and I'm like, I guess not. And she goes, ouch. And then I'm like, that's how I felt when you asked me, like what you just asked me.
Yeah.
I'm like, and she goes, why? I'm like, because clearly like something was like something triggered you to ask me that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that's not the case. Like I just like I only hug the people who I'm like close to.
Yeah. Also, like, if you're the type of person who loves hugs, don't be the hug me guy or girl or just don't be that hug me person. Because there's those people who over abuse the hug, right? I mean, they'll be like, "Where's my hug at?"
Yeah,
and you'll be leaving, and you'll be like, "We're not really there yet." And like, no, come on. Yeah, and I don't like people
like I you know what I don't like. I don't really go through this anymore. But when I was in high school, the hug evolved into cuddle. You know what I mean? Like, cause like you're like for example, like you're hanging out, right? Mm-hmm. And they hug you, and then like, but we're like sitting on the floor, right? So it's like a floor side hug thing, and then it just ends up where they're just like leaning on you, and you're just like, it's like, how did this?
I find that the only way that truly happens is if you're saying hi to someone, they're working on something that you also have to work on.
Yeah. And
then you say hi, you normally say hi with a hug.
Yeah.
Then you just kind of hug each other.
Yeah.
But then you're just like too lazy to like move back. Yeah. So you just kind of stay. But even then, that's not an every time occurrence. That also has to do with the comfortability you both have.
Right. Like
because if it's someone,
so there was a couch in the library, the one in the back.
Yes.
The one in the back. So
yes.
So I that was the spot.
Yes.
That's the spot.
Yes.
So like we're there, right? And like so like we're like I'd be sitting there like working on something or whatever, or like I'd be reading or something, and then like someone would show up, they hug you, like they sit down on the side of the couch, and then they hug you, and then they just never move,
and
there were a few times where I'm like, hey, do you like mind?
Yeah.
like I got a bubble here.
Yeah.
Right. So like, obviously, I think it's one of those like.
Yeah. And there's some people who just their way of letting other people know that they're comfortable with them is just through touch.
Right.
Right. They're very touchy people.
Yeah.
So they don't see it as like, oh, I'm bursting his bubble. I'm just fairly comfortable with them.
Right.
And then see, this is also another problem, especially in high school.
Yeah.
Especially in high school. There's people who are just like that.
Yeah.
They'll touch you because they like you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they like you like that.
Right. Yeah. There was this girl who was like that in high school. She like always be touching people and like just it was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
And actually she there was this, I can't remember what happened. Like, oh, I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Like, cause we were like in a hallway.
Yeah.
I was like laying on my bag and I fell asleep.
Yeah.
When I woke up, she was playing with my hair, and I was like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "Who's touching me?" Like that's what woke me up. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm just playing with your hair." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Like, and we had like maybe 4 conversations.
Yeah.
Right. So she had just joined the friend group.
Yeah.
And she was already like that comfortable with me. Right. She's like, you know, it's one of those things I think where, my brain just like blanked.
Yeah.
Like she says, it's like one of those things where people tend to not like misconstrued, but like they just get too comfortable too quickly.
Oh yeah,
right.
So definitely, for sure.
That tends to happen, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. Some people just get really comfortable really quickly, and they're like super trusting. Yeah. Like you can have one conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And like the next conversation, they'll tell you your deepest, darkest secrets, and that'll be like they'll just.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I'm dangerous. No, I'm kidding.
I'm dangerous. No, I'm dangerous. There's a lot of people like that, and I don't know. I find it.
I mean, also it just depends the kind of vibes you give and get.
Right. Yeah. That's totally true.
If you have the kind of vibe of like you're approachable, I feel like I can tell you stuff.
Right, and we both have that vibe. Unfortunately, we both have that vibe.
As we've been told.
Yeah, I mean, not that I've been told. It's just people
I've been told.
I haven't been like they haven't like pointed it out.
Yeah.
I just had multiple instances where people I barely know.
Yeah.
Will just confide in me.
Yeah, they'll just spill the beans.
Yeah, and like so. Like, I mean, like you often you often know stuff, and you have no, and I mean no reason to know.
Yeah.
Just kind of happens.
It just kind of happens. You're like, well, okay, now that I know you've committed crime.
Now that you've trespassed, should I dial 911 for you or like what?
I mean, I barely know you, so this doesn't really
like this isn't client confidentiality. No, I'm not even a trained professional.
Yeah, I know, but that's also the other thing. We're not the type of people to just run our mouths about it, right? If you told me you committed a crime,
like see, used to say this a lot. How I used to talk in my sleep.
Yeah.
Or like how I say things in my sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm like deeply concerned about it because I'm like, there are some things that people have told me.
Yeah.
That like out of context sound horrible.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, and if I say
once killed 3 donkeys in the back of a truck.
No. Who's killing donkeys? I knew a guy who used to own a chicken farm. No, but there's I mean what I'm getting at is the fact that it's more like just the things I promised.
Yeah.
Never to repeat. And obviously like everybody has that kind of secret with somebody. I have multiple.
I have more than 15.
I have like there are multiple things that people are like, yo, this goes to your grave, and then I'm like, but I don't even know you.
This goes to your grave. Tell no one. I don't even know your friend group.
I don't even dude, I don't even know your last name.
We're in a Timmy's line.
That's one time. This one time I'm like, yo, we're in the middle of math class. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Like
it's one of those things where I remember in grade 9.
Yeah.
This girl, she used to say.
Are you about to repeat something you swore never to repeat?
No. This is what I want to tell you. Okay. So this is what it was. So she used to sit in front of me.
Okay.
And I mean,
that was it.
No. She used to sit in front of me, and she used to like write little notes and then pass them back to me, right? And I would just like whisper the answer, so I was like, I write back on the piece of paper, right? Yeah. And oftentimes she'd write like stuff that like was kind of damning, right? So like, cause I remember this one time, this other teacher he saw, and he's like, hey, you two stop passing notes. I'm like, what are you talking about? She just like, and we got to a point where we were really smart, like the worksheet, just write on the back of the worksheet.
Yeah.
So like he would be like, "What are you guys doing?" I'm like, I was just checking like my aunt, like I was just like cross and compare, you know, like maybe I'm doing it wrong, and also because she had the highest grade in the class.
Oh, okay, so it worked out.
Yeah, so it looked like I was like a power play, right? Yeah. So it's like, so he'd be like, "Oh, I'm like, I was just making sure like if I'm doing it right or whatever."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, I'm like, you're helping the people over there. Like, you don't have time to cross the room. Like, I'm just trying to get my work done." Yeah. You know, so it was like the play, but I remember
using the method of like ask at least 2 other people before going to teacher.
Right. Yeah. So and so we would do that.
Yeah.
And then he got smart on us. Yeah. He started printing double-sided pages. So he couldn't do that anymore. So then she started like, you know, back to the notes, right? Passing back and forth. And then I remember one time she's like, "You take so long to write notes." Yeah. I'm like, "I'm dyslexic. I can barely even write what he's writing on the board and write you a note simultaneously, like at the same time." Yeah. It's like I'd hand her back and she'd hand me another one. I'd be like I can't.
You didn't even let me answer the first.
Yeah, topic. Like I'm still processing. And then this one time she just started stacking them like on my desk. Yeah. And then I'm like, you know, I'm gonna just read them and I'll answer them on our way to our next class. Yeah. I was like, I'm just reading like all the notes, and then I'm like, okay, yes, no, maybe, that's not important. I'm like, because it was like, why are you talking to so and so? I'm like, you know, that's not your business. Yeah. Like, so stuff like that, right? But I remember one time we did this test. Yeah. And I got like 1% higher than her. Oh wow. And at the time, yeah, I was barely passing that class. I was like barely passing that class, and I remember telling her, I'm like, like before the test, I'm like, "I'm gonna get a higher grade than you," and she goes, "No, you're not." Yeah. And I go, because she's the highest grade, and I was like the guy basically failing the class. Yeah. And she goes, "No, you're not." I got a higher grade than her. So much so that my teacher was like, "Did you guys swap tests?"
Like, was there an accident?
Yeah, he's like, "Did you guys swap tests?" I'm like, "Sir, have you seen my writing? Like,
there's no way you can fake this.
You can't replicate this garbage handwriting. Like, it's the worst handwriting, right?" Yeah. And then, and so he's like, "Okay, whatever." It's like, "You weren't like peering over her shoulder, copying her." I'm like, "Sir, if I would have copied her, I'd have the same grade as her.
Not a higher grade.
I have a higher grade than her." And he's like, "Maybe I tied hers wrong." It's like, "Hand me back." He's like looking at it because he was like going through. I had the highest grade in the class. Yeah. So when he said my name, he was thrown off. He's like, "Adrian, you got the highest grade." What? Yeah. Even he was confused, right? So obviously he looked at hers, and then he retaliated. Yeah. Got the same thing. He's like, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong. I was like, maybe I marked it wrong. He like went over the questions again.
He's like looks over your page again. It's like fabricated.
He's looking at. He's like, why are all of these right? Yeah. I only got like 2 questions wrong the entire like test. Yeah. So he was like thrown off by it, and that was like 3% or something like that.
I can't remember who it was who. They weren't known to get like the greatest marks. Yeah. But then they got 100% on something. Yeah. Like 100%. Yeah. I think it was on a quiz. Right. And they just like paused, and like we all watched his reaction, because he's like "Don't leave the class, like I can just mark these all really quickly." Yeah. It was like I think it was like 10 question like math questions, right, and stuff like that. And it was like before lunch. Mm-hmm. So he's like, "Don't leave," because he had like already started, because like he started on the ones who he got quick. He's like, "Don't leave, like I'm already like on like the 5th last one." Right. And he gets to this one guy, and he's like, yeah. And he's just like 100%. Yeah. Not even the top student got 100%.
Right. And he didn't show his work.
He's just like, he's like, okay, how did you?
Yeah, like and it's interesting, right? Because like if you're like, I mean, if you've never experienced like being like a high grade student, yeah, and suddenly like you're at the top of your game, yeah. And you're just like, I don't even know what happened. Like I was euphoric. Yeah. You know, like you're just like, I'm the best. Like you get a sense of ego. All of a sudden, you're like, whoa. Step off, bro. Yeah. Like I'm number 1. Yeah. Get off your podium. I'm on the high horse now. Yeah. Like it's the sense of like, also it's like 14. Like what do I know? Yeah. But it's kind of funny. And then I remember the next test. Yeah. I barely passed it. I passed it by like I think like 5%. Oh man. And then my and the teacher's like, when he handed it back, he's like, "Adrian, that looks more that makes more sense." Yeah. And then he's like, "Or was it just the fact that you understood those concepts better than everything else?" Because like, you know, like in grade 9 science, you do like units. Yeah. So I can't remember what unit it was that I got really high grades.
For me, all of a sudden with my math, yeah, quadratics, yeah. Boom, high stuff. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we get into like factoring. Okay. Like, which took me a while to get into. Yeah. But like I got there. But the grade comparison was just like, wow. Victor's really, really good at quadratics. Can't wait to see the rest of the work he's gonna be handing in.
Yeah.
And it's just whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, just like go out the window. Like just incinerate this.
Yeah.
No, I remember like in grade 8 when you do fractions and like you learn how to multiply and all that stuff, right? Our teacher put us like in groups.
Yeah.
And she taught like multiply, subtract, and then add fractions.
Yeah.
And she put us like into little groups, and we were all doing like little activities with it, right? And then the smartest guy in the class, he gets to like multiplying fractions.
Yeah.
And his brain just doesn't understand how it works.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't, like he's like, Miss, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Like he just went up to her, he's like, Miss, I don't understand this. And then she's like, Adrian already did that, and he did fine. And he goes, okay, but I don't understand this. And she goes, go ask him. And then I go, I turn to look at her like, what?
Yeah.
Why are you telling him to come talk to me, right?
Yeah.
I remember she's like, explain it to him. So I explained it to him.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't know. What this,
It's like, I don't even know if I did it right.
She's like, I don't know, right? So then I'm like, okay. And then I explain again.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what? He's like, I'm not gonna need this. I'm like, you're definitely gonna need this in high school. And he's like, I don't care. It's not important. Yeah. And then he just like, and then I was telling the teacher about it, and she's like, not everybody can grasp certain concepts. Yeah. The same as everybody else. She's like, so, I mean, it also shows like how developed the brain is. And I'm like, whoa. She's like, she basically called them underdeveloped.
No, it's really interesting for me with super hard concepts, like really hard concepts.
Yeah.
Easy. I don't know what it is. It's like, okay, that makes sense. And then the simplest of concepts, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, I don't know why that. I have no idea why that happens.
I feel like when we teach things at a base level, it's just like I feel like there's something missing for that. So I don't understand it.
There's a base.
Right. There's something missing. Right.
Yeah.
And then you get taught the full concept near the end of the unit, and you're like, this makes a lot more sense. That's what you should have taught me first.
Yeah, no, obviously it's one of those
because
things.
now I can do the final product.
You can do the final product. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like grade 10 is just like the big challenge, you know?
Yeah.
When it comes to at least in Canada, I don't know how it is everywhere else, but like here, in this country, in this place where they educate, in this province, in this city, where they educate, grade 10 is like the make or break moment. You know what, bro? You want to wrap up?
Yep. Okay, guys, this has been T.L.B.P Brothers Podcast. Everything's always in the description, whether it be up, down, left, or right. Make sure to share with your grandmother, share with your rooster, share with your donkey, share with your chinchilla, share with everybody and everything you physically can. Make sure to keep us in the background as your white noise in case you find something that you like or find interesting. You can just tune in whenever you want. You know, just make sure to check out next week's videos because those are coming at you. And get ready for Christmas, you know. The holidays. Whatever you do, your traditions, your sleep. Get some rest. Take vacation days. Don't be a workaholic for once.
I gotta work Christmas Eve. It's a double time.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Bye.